The New York Jets are regarded by many as the most mismanaged franchise in the NFL. For the past 50 years, they've dealt with losing records, draft busts, and a failure to find a franchise QB. Just when you think things can't get worse, the Jets always find new lows. This repeated cycle of dysfunction, questionable ownership, and constant rebuilds has earned the franchise one of the worst reputations in sports. So here, we'll deep dive into the history of the New York Jets to see if they're really cursed. In 1959, a newly formed American Football League introduced 8 organizations, one being the Titans of New York. Owned by a broadcaster named Harry Wismer, Wismer had a simple idea to popularize the Titans: buy wins. The season seemed promising after Sammy Baugh was brought in as head coach, but soon derailed fast. The Titans went 7-7, spent $1.2 million, and sadly, lost a life after Howard Glenn became the first football player to pass away from a game. The following years were filled with financial turmoil and losing, and in 1962, Wismer went bankrupt. You're not getting paid. We're not practicing. Next thing you know, Wismer sells a team and Sonny Werblin takes over. You know what? We gotta change our name to something modern, progressive, and powerful. Like a Jet. Werblin also moved the Jets to a new stadium, and Weeb Ewbank took over as head coach. In '64, the two major football leagues, the AFL and NFL, held their drafts on the same day. Turns out that year's draft showcased a standout star from Alabama, an elite quarterback with confidence and charisma, Joe Namath. Seeing Namath's potential, Sonny Werblin and the Jets outbid the NFL, which turned out to be a massive win for the AFL. Due to his flashy partying lifestyle, Namath was given the nickname Broadway Joe. Nevertheless, Namath was the exact game changer New York needed. Year by year, the Jets produced better and better records until 1968, when they won 11 games. In the AFL Championship, Namath threw the game-winning touchdown to Don Maynard to defeat the Raiders en route to their first Super Bowl. While this may seem like good news, the Jets had an impossible task ahead of them. Their Super Bowl opponent was the Baltimore Colts, who had entered the game as 18-point favorites. Why? Well, it turns out the first 2 Super Bowls had been dominated by the NFL, and to the football world, the AFL was a flat-out joke. Not only that, the Colts were a team who allowed just 10 points per game, with their only loss to Cleveland. The same Cleveland they smoked 34-zip in the NFL Championship. Basically, the Jets have no shot. How about we break the news to Broadway Joe? Joe, how do you feel about we're going to win Sunday? I'll guarantee you. Despite the doubters, New York actually shocked the NFL in the first half, leading 7-0 after a Matt Snell touchdown. In a defensive struggle, the Colts missed opportunity after opportunity, and the Jets ran out the clock for a 16-7 victory. This became by far football's greatest upset at the time. This win didn't only put the New York Jets into the record books, but it also changed football as we know it today. Without New York winning the Super Bowl, the AFL would have remained a joke to the football world. Instead, the New York Jets opened the door to the possibility that any team can win the Super Bowl. The image of Joe Namath running through the tunnel after guaranteeing the upset would forever become the greatest moment in Jets history. What does an organization do after achieving the greatest feat in football? I mean, the simple answer would be to do it again. So here's a guideline on what not to do. Do not cut any veteran players, refuse to renew contracts, or get into any shenanigans this offseason. And look, of course we're talking about you, Broadway Joe. Apparently, after winning the Super Bowl, Namath decided to open a bar called Bachelor's 3, a spot that attracted celebrities, locals, and gangsters. Look, Joe, this bar obviously has ties to the mob. Can you shut it down? No. Your choice. Sell the bar or don't play football.
I'm not selling. I'll quit.
Don't randomly retire in the middle of your prime. Even though Namath eventually stole the barn and returned to play, the team was never the same. In the playoffs, a poor performance by Namath sent the Jets packing in a 13-6 loss to the Chiefs. The following year, Namath fractured his wrist and New York fell to 4-10. The Jets would not have another winning season until 1981, 12 whole years. Over those years, New York recycled coaches, players, and GMs. And even the late great Joe Namath was starting to lose his touch. In '74, the team started off 1-7. I guarantee we'll win the rest of our games. You gotta stop doing that. Nevertheless, a disastrous 1976 season forced the team to make a difficult decision regarding Joe. The all-time greatest player in Jets history was practically ineffective on the field. His knees and mobility were so bad that fans called him the $1 Million Statue. So in May of '77, New York cut Joe Namath from the roster. In the meantime, New York was dealing with some issues at Shea Stadium. Over their entire tenure at Shea, the Jets were second priority to the New York Mets. So whenever the Mets' playoff run extended into October, that meant the Jets had to accommodate by playing numerous road games to start the season. So in '77, the state of New Jersey allowed the Jets to share a couple games at another stadium, the Meadowlands, with the New York Giants. Just 6 years later, the Jets would become permanent co-residents at the Meadowlands. However, fast forward to '81 and New York is in the playoffs. The Jets' strong defensive line with Mark Gastineau and Joe Klecko, nicknamed the Sack Exchange, anchored the team to a wild-card berth against the Bills. And they're down 24-zip. However, New York fought their way back to a 4-point deficit, with the ball late in the fourth. Richard Todd and the Jets drove all the way down to the goal line and took a shot at the end zone. In the strike-shortened 1982 season, the Jets went 6-3 and faced Cincinnati in the first round of the playoffs. Despite being underdogs, running back Freeman McNeil ran for 200 yards and knocked off the Bengals 44-17. However, the next round was even tougher, on the road against the LA Raiders. Both teams fought in a low-scoring physical game, but this time another star went off. Wide receiver Wesley Walker went for 169 yards, and a late touchdown drive capped off the upset. Just like that, New York was in the AFC Championship game, traveling to face the Miami Dolphins. Don Shula and the Dolphins expected the Jets' offense to play at a fast pace, something they had done all season. And you know, the only thing that could possibly slow down the Jets is if some type of bad weather messes with the turf. There's no way that's gonna happen. A series of storms preceding the game turned the Orange Bowl into a mud pit. As a result, the AFC Championship, dubbed the Mud Bowl, was a defensive slogfest where quarterback Richard Todd threw 5 interceptions, the last one going for 6. New York's title aspirations fell flat, and the Jets were eliminated 14-zip. In the offseason, Miami would again top the Jets, this time in the draft room. You see, the 1983 draft is known as the quarterback class of '83, and the New York Jets were certainly looking for one. At the 24th pick, the Jets had to choose between a Division II player in Ken O'Brien, or a star gunslinger in Dan Marino, who slid in the draft due to a drug controversy. But in a decision that confused Jets fans, New York selected O'Brien, and Miami took Marino just a few picks later. O'Brien would go on to pursue a solid career on the Jets. He became a 2-time Pro Bowler, reached the playoffs twice, and is considered the second-best Jets quarterback behind Joe Namath. However, Ken O'Brien was in no comparison to Dan Marino, a top 5 quarterback of all time who would go on to torment the Jets throughout his career. Nevertheless, Richard Todd was traded in '84, and Ken O'Brien took over in '85. In O'Brien's playoff debut, the Jets turned the ball over 4 times and fell to New England, 26-14. Despite the loss, a year later the Jets looked unstoppable, building a 10-1 record before being ridden by injuries. Come the playoffs, New York beat Kansas City and then went on the road to Cleveland in a roller coaster of a game. Late in the fourth quarter, Freeman McNeil ran into the end zone to take a commanding 20-10 lead. Now, the Browns were in a tough situation, facing 2nd and 24 until this happened.
Oakar gets time, and it's slapped right back at him, and here's another penalty marker down. They might have Gastineau on a late hit. Roughing the quarterback, number 99, that's 15.
This roughing the passer call completely changed the momentum of the game. Next thing you know, Cleveland scores a touchdown, ties the game, and wins in double overtime. Things fell apart soon after that. A 1987 strike divided the locker room, the sack exchange soon disbanded, and the Jets were back to square one. When you're at square one, the only way to get better is through the draft room. So with the 2nd overall pick in 1990, the Jets drafted a Heisman-winning running back named Blair Thomas. Guess what? Thomas lasted just 4 injury-prone seasons in New York, and just 15 picks later was another running back who later became one of the best to ever do it. Fine then, we'll just try again in 91. The Jets have the 34th pick in the draft and desperately want a quarterback named Brett Favre. New York tried their best to trade up to draft him, but Atlanta ultimately selected Favre with the 33rd pick. This forced New York to select Browning Nagel a pick later. There's probably a reason you've never heard of Browning Nagel before. He threw 7 touchdowns and 17 picks with just 3 career wins, while Brett Favre, well, let's just say he could have brought the Jets to a couple Super Bowls. Nevertheless, that year the Jets miraculously made the postseason off of a game-winning field goal to Miami. But in their playoff game against Houston, Ken O'Brien's pass late in the fourth was intercepted, and the Jets were eliminated in the wild card. Just a couple years later, O'Brien was traded to the Packers, Freeman McNeil retired, and the Jets suffered a December collapse to miss the '94 playoffs. As a result, the Jets introduced a new head coach in '94, Pete Carroll. Carroll's first year started out promising, with a 6-5 record heading into a key rivalry game against Miami. The Jets had led by as much as 18, but Dan Marino and Miami had cut the deficit to 3. But all New York needed was a stop.
Everybody on the line of scrimmage. Now he still has 1 timeout. They'll save that for the field goal if they have to.
We are seeing another spectacular effort by Marino, who fires. Touchdown!
You know what the Jets were thinking? He's going to take the ball and throw it into the ground.
They stopped.
They all stopped.
Little did the Jets know, this play completely demoralized their season. All of a sudden, New York suffered yet another December collapse, with 5 straight losses that cost Pete Carroll his job. Well, the Jets already messed up the season, so let's not try to mess up the draft room too. You have the 9th pick, and still on the board is a really good defensive lineman. Every Jets fan is chanting his name, just pick him already.
With the 9th pick in the first round, the New York Jets select tight end from Penn State, Kyle Brady.
It just doesn't seem to make sense unless Rich Kotite has got some kind of plans that nobody knows about. They go 2 tight ends, maybe. It doesn't seem to fill a need for them.
That defensive lineman New York missed out on was Warren Sapp. Sapp ended up becoming a 7-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Player of the Year, and top 10 D lineman of all time. You know, this is getting out of hand. Fired coaches, poor draft picks, how can this possibly get worse? In 1996, New York reached a whole new low. In the final game of the season, New York faced their bitter rivals, the Dolphins. Over 56,000 ticket holders stayed home, and when they ultimately lost their 15th game of the season, Coach Kotite was hit with a full cup of beer as he left the field. Fortunately, 1996 was rock bottom for the Jets, and the organization would only go up from here. In '97, New York had set their eyes on a new coach, Bill Parcells. Parcells was a 2-time Super Bowl winner who wanted out of New England, but he was stuck under contract and wouldn't be released. So what the Jets did was hire Parcells' trusted defensive coordinator, a guy named Bill Belichick, as a head coach. Essentially, Belichick was the interim coach for the Jets until Parcells got out of his contract. After Parcells took the role of head coach, Belichick became the team's assistant head coach. Nevertheless, there was an understanding that Bill would take over as head coach as soon as Parcells left. Almost immediately, Parcells brought his winning mentality to New York. The Jets also signed Vinny Testaverde at QB and Curtis Martin at running back. Curtis Martin would become the best running back in Jets history, rushing for over 10,000 total yards in New York. The Jets went from 1 win in '96 to 9 wins in '97 and 12 in '98. That season, the Jets knocked off Jacksonville in the playoffs and were now just 1 game away from the Super Bowl. The team standing in their way was John Elway and the top-seeded Broncos. The first half was anyone's game, with the Jets up by 3. But a blocked punt led to a Curtis Martin touchdown for New York to take a 10-0 lead on the road. At this point in the game, it almost seemed surreal for Jets fans. For the past 30 years, New York had endured so much failure, and just 2 years ago, they were at rock bottom. Now, they were in the driver's seat to reach the Super Bowl. All they had to do was hold the lead.
Play fake. All kinds of time. Going long, McCaffrey. Inside the 20 to the Jets 16-yard line. The Broncos need to go for a first down. Davis. First down and more. 15, 10, touchdown. Broncos repeat as AFC champions, and they'll return to the Super Bowl.
23 unanswered points, and just like that, New York missed out on their best opportunity in decades. But that's fine, we'll just run it back next year.
Yeah, lost the football and covered it again. And holding his leg on the ground is Vinny Testaverde.
Well, our QB's out for the season, but at least we still have our coach. Well, on the bright side, we prepared for this. Bill Belichick, congrats, you're our new head coach. I quit. Dude, you accepted the job a day ago. Turns out Belichick was uncertain with the ownership of the Jets after the team owner, Leon Hess, passed away before the '99 season. Hess had offered Belichick a $1 million bonus to stay put, but since he was gone, Bill had no incentive to stay in New York. Robert Kraft and the Patriots offered him $2 million, and the rest is history. Although losing Belichick was a tough blow, New York rebounded by drafting Chad Pennington at QB in 2000, along with hiring Herm Edwards as coach in '01. The Jets immediately saw results, especially on a Monday night rivalry game against the Dolphins. Down by 23 points, the Jets overcame the deficit and won in overtime.
Catch he does! How did he catch that one?
Same way he dropped that earlier one.
The Sam Madison had it. He took it out of Sam Madison's grasp. That one was 21. Here's Vinny going to the end zone. And he makes the catch. Yes! Fake to Martin, then a dump. And it is juggled and caught by Jumbo Elliott. Quick snap. Tuck away. Jets win.
In 2001, New York clinched the playoffs after a last-minute 53-yard field goal. Even though they were defeated by the Oakland Raiders, the next year saw the Jets shut out Peyton Manning and the Colts 41-zip in the wild card. Unfortunately, they fell again to Oakland on the road. After 2 consecutive playoff losses to the Raiders, the Jets were ready for revenge in '03. And Chad Pennington broke his wrist. Despite the off year, the young franchise QB was healthy coming into '04. For the first time in the team's history, New York started 5-0, rolled their way into postseason play, and shocked the Chargers with a game-winning field goal in overtime. Doug Bryan's kick had just sent New York to the divisional round, but unfortunately for them, their next opponent was going to be a lot tougher. The Jets had to go on the road against the 15-win Steelers, a team who had not lost a home game all season. Nevertheless, a punt return touchdown and pick six helped New York tie the game at 17 late in the fourth. With under 2 minutes left, Doug Bryan, the hero of their last game, attempted a 47-yard field goal.
On its way, that kick goes down the field. It's no good. It hit the goal post.
Well, that's fine. New York just intercepted the ball and now has even better field position. Don't mess us up.
Snap, the placement, the kick on the way. It has plenty of leg. It is no good.
Doug Bryan's second miss of the night would be the last time New York touched the ball that season. The Jets were so close to upsetting the 1 seed, but found themselves back to the drawing boards. After Herm Edwards resigned in 2006, a Patriots defensive coordinator named Eric Mangini took his place. Mangini coached a successful rookie year, but lost to his former team in the wild card. The opening game of the next year saw another loss to the New England Patriots, but this one was a little different. Apparently during the game, the Patriots were caught for illegally spying on the Jets' signals, a moment that questioned the integrity of Bill Belichick. This moment became known as Spygate. Meanwhile, the Jets are kind of in another quarterback bind, since Pennington isn't quite doing the job. So in 2008, Pennington was released, and New York acquired a recently unretired Brett Favre. Even though fans expected the worst-case scenario, everything seemed to be going right for the Jets. Brett Favre was having a resurgence, the defense was holding its own, and the Jets were 8-3. Then December hit. Brett Favre tore his rotator cuff but decided to play through the injury, a decision that severely derailed the season. For the icing on the cake, their final loss of the season came to their bitter rivals, the Miami Dolphins, a loss that eliminated the Jets from playoff contention. Worse, Miami's starting QB was Chad Pennington, the former Jet. After the collapse, Mangini was fired and Brett Favre retired. But 2009 saw replacements for both of these positions, with Rex Ryan becoming head coach and Mark Sanchez being drafted at QB. In the home opener, the Jets defense completely shut down Tom Brady and the Patriots, a moment that set the tone for the season. The Jets squeaked into the playoffs, where they shocked the Bengals and the Chargers on the road. In the AFC Championship game, the Jets took an early 17-6 lead over the top-seeded Colts before falling in the second half. Despite being sent home just 1 game away from the Super Bowl, Jets fans were still satisfied with their run. The following year, the Jets moved into MetLife Stadium, where an 11-win season sent them into a rematch against Indianapolis. On the road, New York hit a game-winning field goal to eliminate Peyton Manning and the Colts. Their next playoff game was against Tom Brady and the Patriots, a team that had beat them 45-3 earlier in the season. But in this game, Darrelle Revis and the defense completely shut out Tom Brady, stunning Patriots fans in their own stadium. The same team that Bill Belichick and New England had owned for years had now just crushed their Super Bowl hopes. And the Jets were moving on to the AFC Championship. Last year, it was clear that New York wasn't ready for the title game. But this year, there were no excuses. An 11-win campaign, beat down to the Patriots, and all they had to do was beat the Steelers. In the most crucial game of the year, New York played like that. Even though Mark Sanchez did all he could to claw his way back into the game, the Jets simply ran out of time. Just like that, another great opportunity was down the drain. And you know, these opportunities don't come by often. I mean, who knows? It might take 5, 10, 15 years to make the playoffs again. It won't take that long, right?
Onside kick, but Nick Folk
need a better kick.
Didn't really get it up in the air there. Brandon Marshall on the recovery. Jets eliminated from the playoffs for the first time in Rex Ryan's era.
Tom Moore, then in Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator. You got a busted play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's alive.
I have never seen this before in my life. Watch this. Vince Wilfork is going to throw Brandon Moore back into his quarterback. He's going to fumble the football.
New York Jets select Geno Smith.
What about West Virginia?
Smith dropping back. He gets dropped by Carl Klug. And that's it. That's a touchdown.
Sack, strip, fumble, touchdown.
He didn't do what I just think he did.
Yeah.
Did he just try to put the ball behind his back like he was on the playground?
Try to switch it like he's playing basketball.
Rex Ryan and John Idzik have been let go. We've had a disappointing year. We want to make some changes.
Fitzpatrick. Picked off. It's over. A.J. Tarpley. A painful ending to the Jets season in Orchard Park. Equal. Knocked up in the air, and Butler's got it for New England. Another Jets turnover.
Third and a short three, Sims the running back. He's got the ball on a touchdown. Charles Sims.
On second down and 12, Darnold airs it out. Downfield pass is picked by Mitchell. Browns are going to win.
Seeing ghosts.
Seeing ghosts.
That's not good. And you heard what he said? They're going to.
What can you tell them? It's just been a disappointing season, one that a lot of these players and coaches would love to forget.
The New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU.
As an offense, though, I mean, when you guys are only able to score 3 points, the defense only lets up 3 points. I mean, do you feel like you let the defense down at all?
No.
Have you feel like you let down anybody? No. It moves on. Well, he had 2 yards of offense in the second half. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver for the Jets, rookie. Hey, that's not. That's horseshit.
That the New York Jets have agreed to terms on a trade for Aaron Rodgers, the 4-time MVP, goes from Green Bay to the New York Jets.
Protection breaks down and time runs out. Down goes Rodgers and the sack for Leonard Floyd. The former first-round pick of the Bears, and now Rodgers sits down.
MVP would be amazing and great. He deserves it. Lamar deserves it.
Here's a guy coming right in. That's Shavers. Look at him with that burst. Taking it the distance for another Bills touchdown.
Yeah, that offensive tape was a total disaster. It's as bad as an offensive tape as I've watched in years. I'm surprised because I really enjoyed time with them.
Fade pass, and that is picked. Ethan Bunner.
When the modern football fan sees the New York Jets, that is what they see. A complete joke of a franchise who has the longest current playoff drought in North American sports. But as we've seen throughout this video, it hasn't always been like that. While the Jets have no doubt dealt with poor management, unwise draft picks, and bad quarterback play, they've still had their chances. In fact, in 4 separate instances, New York has been 1 game away from the Super Bowl, where they just weren't able to capitalize. Why are the Jets so bad? Who knows? Maybe it's bad luck, poor coaching, or maybe they're just cursed.